Morning.
I'm excited to share with you all today, and thank you, Pastor Scott, for giving me this opportunity to share with all of you. I'd like to open how we introduce ourselves at Celebrate Recovery. I'm Lauren Birchmeyer, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus who's overcoming fear, anxiety, and grief over the loss of my dad and our 3.5-week-old daughter, McKenna, to her heart defect. Last week, my loving husband shared with you all, and now it's the wife's turn. We use the word hope in many ways, don't we? I hope the Eagles win this afternoon.
Go Eagles.
I hope that illness of mine will be healed. I hope I get that raise to help my family. I hope my spouse starts doing this or stopping this. It's not wrong to hope for those things, but it can turn into a hurt habit or hang-up when it's the only thing we put our hope in. I've hoped in the same way. I hoped that the heart surgery would save her. It didn't. I hoped for a healthy child. It didn't happen. I hoped for the miracle that didn't come. You see, we throw around that word hope so simply, and yet it's such a huge word in the Bible when it comes to the hope in Christ and what it truly means. I've learned our hope can't just be in these earthly events. We live in a fallen world that doesn't work as God created it. I have to daily remind myself of this. I have to ask God for peace and to put my peace and hope in Christ and not in these circumstances here. Believing that's a daily thing. Sometimes it's a struggle, but not in the earthly treasures we have here. When you lose something so precious as your child, you can either we can ground ourselves in that hurt and be stuck in it, or say to God, use it. Just days after returning home from Philadelphia, after losing McKenna, God gave me my life verse. Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him. He showed it to me 3 times in 3 different ways in those first few days of being home. He also has shown me that verse in many other ways on important days or on really hard days, like over Mother's Day weekend. I felt God speaking to me in that verse, saying, Lauren, hey girl over here, I'm the God of hope. I will provide you that hope you need to sustain you through this loss, through this grief, through this anxiety that won't leave your chest. Rest in me right now. Keep seeking me, and I will give you that joy and peace you need. I see how you're trying, and I'm here. Trust me. After getting this verse, I threw my hands up and I said, okay, whatever you want. Whatever you want. Use me how you want. Because after you lose your child, what else is there left to lose? I surrendered to hope in that moment. And you know what God did with that? Well, he took this hurt mother who didn't even want a memorial service for her daughter. How do you celebrate? How do you talk about a life that was so short? How do you make it not so sad? He took that service for my daughter, and through him, he got me to speak up here for 20 minutes about how he had worked in that month. I went from not wanting it to speaking on it. That's not God, I don't know what it is. And there, he sparked this hope inside of me to speak, to keep speaking, to go around and want to tell everybody, to go tell it on a mountain, to go tell it in a church or on Facebook or to my dental hygienist, or even to a boat on a goat. You know, that last one's the kindergarten teacher in me. Couldn't resist. What I mean is I would go anywhere to share how God gave me hope in tragedy. Celebrate Recovery's Principle 3 states, consciously choose to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. It's hard to do all my life, right? We can give parts, pieces, but giving all of it is really hard. This principle and many of the other steps have provided me an understanding of where my hope needs to be and how to do that. Maybe you're feeling alone this morning. Maybe you think you're the only one going through something. Maybe you're the only one who can't break something and you feel like no one would understand, or you wouldn't be forgiven, or you're alone. Well, I found in Celebrate Recovery, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in the fear or moments of having difficulty trusting God. Each week, I get the opportunity to sit around and small group share with a wonderful group of women who share their innermost thoughts and struggles. As each lady speaks around the table, I hear pieces of me in each of them, even if they're going something through completely different than me. I find those thoughts of isolation, or those thoughts of how dare you struggle with that, really are from the enemy and not from God. I find we all struggle, and we are in this together. I love how God provides others to walk your story of recovery with you. I've been given tools in Celebrate Recovery of how to grieve openly, honestly, and what to do if I want to isolate myself or step back into denial. I do have some earthly hope in this baby right here in my belly. But my daily hope that gets me through each hardship, each day of grief, is that this life is temporary. Not long, and in the long term, one day it will all be set right. God never wastes a hurt if you allow him to use it. I believe he's using his story, using our story, his story, to share what true hope in living Christ's care can do even in the darkest of circumstances. As we say in Celebrate Recovery, thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing.